Welcome, everybody. It's episode 430 of the Severe MMA podcast. My name is Sean Sheehan, aka Shawnee Podcast, the podcast. Joined today by the Jurgen Klopp of Irish MMA media, Graeme McDonald, as we talk about what was actually a massive weekend in the world of mixed martial arts, and I can't wait to get into all of it. But before we do, we must tell you that this episode of the podcast, like many, is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped. And the summer is here, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to unleash the beach beast within you. And we're lucky that we have a lot of American subscribers and listeners, because there's no fucking beach in Ireland anyway. The weather we're having at the moment. But still, actually, tomorrow is supposed to be a fine day, 21 degrees. So maybe it's time. Maybe the good weather is coming back. So if it is, even if
you believe those weathermen, you believe anything.
You believe anything. What you need, Graeme, is the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. They're going past waist deeper, Manscaped, in the grooming game and diving headfirst into your facial hair fantasies. The Beard Hedger is a game changer, allowing you to shape your beard like a true beach babe. This summer, let the beach balls bounce and turn heads all over the place. Visit manscaped.com and use the code SevereMMA to get 20% off and free shipping. It's time to tame your mane and say goodbye to all the stubble trouble with Manscaped's Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It all starts with that Beard Hedger. It's a cordless trimmer with 20 hair cutting lengths, so all in one guard, so no more of those messy drawers full of add-ons and all of that. It's waterproof, so you can do it in the shower, whatever you want to do it. It has a titanium coated T-blade, which is smooth on your face but tough on hair at the same time, brings a single stroke efficiency and satisfaction each and every time. The Pro Kit doesn't end there though. You have the 4 dermatologically tested formulations, I always fuck up that word, for your post trim care. The beard shampoo and conditioner, first of all, they're different to your normal shampoo and conditioner, because we all know beard hair is a little bit different, a little bit more coarse, and that's very good for them. Then they have the oils as well, which are the beard oil, which is absolutely brilliant, helps relieve dryness. And then to cap it all off, they have the beard balm as well, which is a pomade that shapes and styles. So the 3 free gifts in the beard brush, which will help with that, the comb and the scissors to help your beard be ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code SevereMMA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off at manscaped.com. Use the code SevereMMA. Manscaped's Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. And while you're taking care of your face, why not go to Caldera Lab and take care of your skin as well? Because there's no two ways around it. Your face is most likely the first thing people see when they meet you. Your first impressions, the thing they notice about you, and how your skin looks, good or bad, is that first impression. And I think a lot of people tuning in here have decided to make Caldera Lab their go-to, and I would encourage you to do that too. They're absolutely fantastic. They're the leader in men's skincare and are here to save the day and your confidence. So use the code SevereMMA at calderalab.com to enjoy 20% off their best products. Caldera Lab, they create a high-performance men's skincare products, and the regimen is your twice-a-day formula to transform your skin. Very easy, 30 seconds in the morning, 30 seconds at night. Little time for a huge benefit. It's like brushing your teeth, as we said before. You take a little bit of time, and over the course of a few days, a few weeks, you will notice the difference. And these products, obviously, they'll work similarly to that. So what does Caldera Lab offer? First off, the clean slate starts your day. It's like a face wash. It's a face wash that leaves your skin, all skin types, refreshed. Then you have the base layer right after to moisturize and hydrate your skin. Even better, absorbs fast, leaving you with a matte finish to start your day confidently. Then the good is your go-to at night. It's a clinically proven multifunctional serum that makes your skin look tighter and helps reduce wrinkles and all of that as well. And then the Icon, which addresses the Icon. If anyone from Limerick is listening to me saying Icon, so I'm going to the Icon, boy, yeah. But it addresses the 3 most common skin concerns around the eye, which are fine lines, dark circles, and puffiness. So Caldera Lab is made with top-tier ingredients, as we said, and a legit showstopper. 30 seconds a morning, 30 seconds a night. Trust me, it's all about getting the skincare unlocked for the better. It doesn't get any easier than that. So get 20% off with the code SevereMMA at calderalab.com. That's 20% off at calderalab.com by using the code SevereMMA. Jump into skin and a first impression royalty with Caldera Lab. Right, Graeme, it's time to talk about mixed martial arts. Let's start off with the big one, UFC 292. And do you know what? I'm going to start with Ian Garry, because what a performance that was from our own Irish sensation, Ian Garry. It's, do you know what? It's we've talked many times, right? About we were so lucky to have someone like Conor McGregor, who was a whirlwind of a fighter, who, you know, obviously you saw him, Graeme, doing the documentary and stuff, and knew that he would, you know, you predicted he'd knock out Jose Aldo and all of that, and I think a lot of people very quickly kind of realised he was amazing as well, right? And we often spoke about, lads, we need to temper expectations a little bit, like many great fighters, many very good fighters have been produced since then, but it's very, very unlikely that we have someone that can go on that sort of journey again. But we were wrong, because we have another one, and Ian Garry has quickly come along after Conor McGregor, and he's right there now. And this is, you might say, oh, Sean, what are you talking about? You can't compare him to Conor McGregor. But if you think about it, right, Ian Garry should be top, I would say, definitely top 10, if not top 8, top 7, after this fight. He's calling out Wonderboy Thompson in a fight which I think a lot of people would pick him to win, and then after that you're talking title shots. So this journey is well and truly like 80% underway. There's a long way to go yet, obviously, to reach the heights of McGregor, but to even have someone here for Irish MMA, it's absolutely incredible, and it's an absolute joy to watch. And you know, I think we've known Ian Garry since before he made his pro debut, and he was an amateur, you know, and gone through our WhatsApp group, there was this Ian Garry fight, so I'm like, oh shit, this lad is going to be really, really, really good. So we've known it like longer than almost anyone, I would say. But to see it happen in front of your eyes, Graeme, it's fantastic for another Irishman to be running his way through the UFC and doing it in absolute style. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying, you know, it wasn't that long ago, just over 10 years ago, where an Irishman hadn't gone into the UFC and won, you know, and we're kind of used to it now. Like we had, like, you know, Conor obviously come in, and we had, like, you know, Paddy Houlihan, Neil Seary, Norman Park, all these guys follow in, and, you know, it kind of became the norm. But like, you know, 10 years ago isn't that long of a time. If you think back in like other sports to 10 years ago, like soccer or American football and things, it's not that big of a span of time. And, you know, it's really the whole landscape of Irish MMA, and Irish MMA at the top level has completely changed past like what could have been expected in such a short period of time. And, you know, as Ian said, he was watching, you know, these guys come up, and he was watching Conor and all these other guys on the UFC Dublin and all, and that's what kind of got him into this. And that's what, you know, we were saying at the time, even back then, you know, the amount of, you know, I don't think people kind of realize or remember how many like young people, teenagers and young adults were like obsessed with Conor McGregor on his run to obviously the very top and all that. And people were staying up till, you know, 4 or 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to watch these fights, getting it was all people were talking about for a while. So it obviously had a big effect on these people as they were growing up, people like Ian and other people we see, you know, knocking on the door of the UFC and in other big promotions and in the UFC and things like that. So, you know, a lot of credit has to go to, you know, John Kavanagh and Conor McGregor and all them guys that came in to kind of, you know, clear the path for somebody like Ian to do this. But, you know, besides all that, Ian has he's just been phenomenal. We've watched his journey the whole time, the whole way from his amateur career, and watched him improve. And, you know, he's had his ups and downs. He's had the dispute. He left his team, and, you know, people can criticize and say things what they want outside the ring and not like his personality or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's made people care. People care. Like, people cared about that Magny fight more than I've seen people care about a Magny fight in many years, if ever. If they were on Magny's side or on Gary's side, it doesn't really matter. You know, people are talking, and you go out there and you put on performances like he's been doing, and, you know, you style on somebody like Neil Magny and just absolutely brutalize him, like absolutely, like he kind of, to be honest, made a fool of Neil Magny. Like Neil Magny was talking, he's going to go in, you know, he's experienced, this guy is just talking, and you can't answer back the haters any better than Ian Garry does inside the cage, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. If people care about you and you're getting results, it's going to lead to big things. And you know, it's hard not to see really big things in Ian Garry's future after a performance like that, and after, you know, the development we've seen him make throughout the years, the jumps in skill levels and execution, and how comfortable he looks in these big spots and all of this stuff. Like, it's all really come together beautifully. And I liked that, you know, I've been saying this for years about many fighters and about Ian, and you've been saying the same thing. There's no need to rush this, you know, plenty of time, like, let yourself develop. And if Ian had gone in like with a Neil Magny when his first fight in the UFC, it would have looked a lot different than it looked last night, you know. And if he goes in if he had 3 fights time, if he went in with somebody like Neil Magny, it's going to look even better. So there is no rush here. You know, there's some very good guys at the top of the division. And I think Ian, in the post-fight press conference, said it, you know, he's still on the trajectory that he set out, and he's in no mad rush. And Dana White was talking, you know, we'll probably do Madison Square Garden, New York with Ian next, and then Dublin after that. So, yeah, I think the UFC seemed to be in no mad rush to put him into a title shot. He seems to be in no mad rush. And I think, you know, the way he's been developing, put it off for a few more fights is ideal for Ian, for his chances of, you know, capturing a title, or, you know, being as competitive as he possibly can at the top of the division.
Yeah, well, I suppose we'll see on that. I think if he goes in there and he beats Wonderboy, although, like, if the plan is to have a fight next and it looks like it's not going to be Wonderboy, maybe Wonderboy in Dublin and then a title shot, I think, you know, if you're ranked top 10 and you win 2 fights, you're going to be on that kind of trajectory anyway. So I don't think anyone would get too overboard about that. But to be even in this position and talking about stuff like that is absolutely crazy. But we talked a lot about the UFC matchmaking over the last while, but this is exactly, you said it there, this is what they should be doing. Like, the road that they've given Ian Garry so far to get there, it has been, like, it's just been absolutely perfect after coming out, you know, of Cage Warriors with the belt at 6-0, Jordan Williams, Darian Weeks, Gabe Green, Song Kanan, Daniel Rodriguez, Neil Magny. It's been like a uptake in opponents every single time, bit by bit, you know, not massive. Obviously, it was supposed to be Jeff Neal. That was the only one that fell out. So Ian's had very good luck in there as well, in terms of not getting injuries, or his opponents not getting injuries, you know, especially when he kind of, all the bad luck he had maybe in the last year of the Cage Warriors run, I suppose, with a few injuries and with the team situation and all of that. So it's been absolutely perfect for him. And now, like, it is just over 2 years as well since he won the Cage Warriors title. He's had that little bit of time to develop, and he's travelled around, and he's had the time, I suppose, to bed into the new team, and, you know, he's kind of become a bit of a nomad, and, you know, it's all gone well for him. Like, it's all gone well. You could think before, like, oh, is it great to be going to Brazil and leaving your team in America that you've gone with? Like, is that going to work? Well, it did, you know, the proof is in the pudding, and it absolutely did. Like, and I think with Ian as well, like, we talked about a little bit on the preview show about it. It's like, you know, there was a lot of stuff in the press conference, and, you know, the putting up the middle fingers and stuff, and it's like, I really don't think you need much of that when you're Ian Garry. Like, be yourself. You're an unbelievable character, and fight the way you do. And, like, I said it last night, right? Or I said in the previous show, like, it doesn't matter all this. Like, we can criticize it, or we can say, no, I'm not sure about that. But when he goes in there and styles on Neil Magny, all of that will be forgotten. And you said, you know, some people don't like him, and some people don't like his personality and all of that, and some people absolutely love it. But when he goes in there and does what he does like that, that's just out. There's no question about that anymore. Like, everyone appreciates him as a fighter in terms of what he did there. It was absolutely unbelievable. And we're going to have to start talking about him in a different way now, in terms of, like, superstardom, in terms of, like, the way he gets there. And if you're going to Dublin in a while, I really think he needs to, like, re-engage with the Irish audience. That was the only thing I would say about Ian over the last few fights. I think he's not that he's lost the Irish audience, but you can't ignore, and I'm sure he sees it as well. There's lots of people, you know, the Irish fans and stuff, saying, you know, oh, we need to see more of Ian and all that. Like, do you remember we had this with Conor for a while as well, you know, when do you remember he had like a bit of a dispute with RT and things like that, and and all of that, and he wasn't on on the Late Late Show. Do you know what Ian needs? Ian needs to get on the Late Late Show. That's and it might be a bit old school and all of that, but that's what he needs to do. He needs to, get on Off the Ball, get on Second Captains, get on SevereMMA maybe even, but like re-engage a little bit with the Irish audience. And that's the only part missing. Because if he does that, let's say over the next 6 months, then fights in Ireland, it's going to be absolutely massive. It's going to be absolutely massive because he has the talent, he has the ability and everything. And like what he did to Jeff Neal, if we just run through it, maybe if people didn't see it, he just came in and he...
Neil Magny.
Yeah, what did I say? Jeff Neal. Oh yeah, Neil Magny. Sorry, I'm not the first one to make that mistake this week. We're all fucking making it, but it was just. I put out a tweet afterwards and I was like, he won every second of every round. And sometimes you say that and you're like, oh well, maybe not. But he literally, like, at the start of the second round, Neil Magny landed maybe 3 jabs, and that was kind of it. Like, Gary started off with the calf kicks, and once those
straight
calf
away
kicks,
dropped him with a hard calf kick, and it was kind of like,
that was it.
I think Magny realised, maybe this guy's not as bad. Maybe he's much better than I expected.
It was funny to say for a fight that went to the distance, but that was the beginning of the end. From like the first 20 seconds of the fight, just kick. And like I think there was 2 big parts, right? As you said, the very first leg kick, which he landed, calf kick, that knocked him down, right? And then there was a clinch after a few more calf kicks, which Magny had, like, we could say the dominant position on, but Gary just immediately turned him, immediately got to a dominant position, and that was that. Hit a front kick right up through the middle. Magny just did nothing. And like, as I said, at the start of the second, Magny landed a couple of jabs, but there was just more calf kicks. Gary stopped another clinch. He nearly finished him at the end of the second round. Magny could barely stand by the time it came again. And in the third, it was even better because he almost finished him again. There was a big slam at one stage that showed like Ian can fight on the ground as well, and anyone who's watched these fights down through the years know that as well. Ended up on top at the end, landing some big shots as well. I scored it 30-26, I think, or maybe 30-25. No, I scored it 30-25. There was definitely the second and third, I think you could definitely have talked about as 10-8, but Graeme, I wonder if people, maybe if they don't watch much MMA or something, maybe just tuning in to hear us talk about Ian Garry, maybe they don't understand, what type of fighter Neil Magny is. And like I said, this change of opponent for Ian Garry was a massive change because Neil Magny is a way better fighter than Jeff Neal, in my opinion, way more well-rounded. Now, Jeff Neal is a harder puncher, but like when you're someone like Ian Garry, I think getting around a harder puncher is a lot easier than getting around what Neil Magny does now.
Yeah, well, MMA math is not exactly precise, but Jeff Neal was dominated by Magny over 3 rounds a couple of years ago. So, it definitely wasn't an easier matchup. And, taking it on 7 days notice for Neil Magny is obviously, not ideal for him, but he's a guy who always stays in shape, as I said before. And for Ian, a big moment, a huge moment, big pay-per-view card, third from the top, all that stuff. It could have added like an extra anxiety, an extra kind of wrinkle to upset his mindset or his plans, but it just took it all in a stride, like he always seems to do. And it's an absolutely brilliant performance. I saw some people saying, "Oh, he should have finished him." But when a guy goes into full defensive mode, like Neil Magny did, just trying to survive, it's difficult, and you don't want to take a stupid risk. And it's MMA, anything can happen, and all that stuff. So I thought it was really intelligent and experienced beyond his years or beyond his record meant to fights. So yeah, I thought it was very, very high fight IQ, very good distance management. Loads of whipped out basically everything from his arsenal in terms of striking, and even the takedown and the top position at the very end of the fight. He really just dominated Neil Magny everywhere, and Neil Magny just was like happy to get to the final bell by the end. Yeah,
I think it was maybe Chael said before, it's very hard to finish someone who has settled for survival, and that was kind of the case here very early on. Like I think it was Keith Peterson. Maybe I think he could have slapped it a couple of times, if I'm being honest. But
in the second round, I thought he was kind of encroaching a little bit, getting a bit close. But in fairness, Neil Magny, he's not going to give up in there.
Yeah, and like it was one of those ones as well where he didn't stop trying to finish him throughout the whole thing, and like he didn't make any stupid errors or stupid mistakes as well, while keeping it entertaining, while dominating. Like it's very like people probably say, "Oh, what about Corey Sandhagen a couple of weeks ago?" But like there was no point there almost where Corey and Sandhagen was trying to finish him. Now he was injured and everything. So, but you get what I mean. Like this was very, very different to that. This was an absolute styling. Like he literally like taught him a lesson in there for a guy who's nearly 40 fights deep in his career, for a guy who's only 13 fights deep, to do that to him, it was absolutely unbelievable. Like, and like I'll say it again, like Neil Magny is a guy who can push you against the cage and wrestle you, and has the size on Garry as well, in terms of like Gary's way bigger than most people, but he's not way bigger than Neil Magny, you know, and he can make it, like Garry just made it easy on himself. And we'll talk about the main event as well, but there's something similar here, I think, where Garry like immediately refused to be pushed back, and like against a guy like Magny, that's first of all exactly what you have to do, and second of all, easier said than done. But Garry made it look easy. He really, really did. Like the jabs coming out, the kicks to the body, obviously the kicks to the leg, which we saw are all destined to like stop Magny. And it's funny because I interviewed him before for the Ross and McMahon fight, and he said exactly the same thing. Oh, he's going to try to push forward. I'm going to jab him off the back foot and get around that way. And I think he said kick the leg as well, even maybe. Like he'll tell you exactly what he's going to do, and you can't stop him from doing it, because it's just once you do those things, it takes away what your opponent is doing, and that's exactly what Garry did here. It was a really phenomenal performance. Like, and the thing as well, like we spoke about Ian before, like, and he took a few shots on his way up, and you know he'd be oddly, you know, be a bit open at times. He didn't look open here at all. Like the only shots he took were, as I said, a couple of jabs at the start of the second, and he immediately kind of closed that door and started jabbing Magny back. There was nothing there. Like it was utterly flawless. You have to say it. There's no doubt about it. It was absolutely brilliant, and geez, I can't wait. It's great. And like there was a lot of good Irish MMA stuff this week, and a lot of good stuff coming up as well. And we have a lot of roads to follow, I suppose, with Irish MMA. But Jesus, Ian Garry's at the top of that hill at the moment, leading the way, and it's absolutely brilliant to see. And yeah, it's fantastic. Any closing words on that there, Graeme? It was just brilliant, wasn't it?
You know, yeah, it was brilliant. And in terms of like his achievements in sport so far, and the kind of story, you'd hope that the Irish media and other media would do a bit of a better, job of covering it on a wider scale than they have been. There's been, articles here or there or whatever, things like that. Obviously, for what Ian Garry is doing athletically and in sports, there should be, RTE should be putting stuff like this on the 6 o'clock news and, things like that. And, as you said, Ian Garry should be on like things like the Late Late Show or invited on things like that. There should be, more appreciation for what he's achieving here, in my opinion. And not just what Ian's achieving, obviously we saw from fights we're going to talk about, like people like Brad Katona training out of Ireland, people like Rhys McKee signed to the UFC, Paul Hughes, Lee Hammond knocking on the door. We saw how good Lee's performance was against Kurt Holloway, who ended up winning the Ultimate Fighter last night as well, and loads of these guys like PFL, like obviously the UFC is a big name, and people like Virgin Media who've kind of dipped their toes in it with Sean O'Bannon, like they should be looking to kind of make a bigger deal of this, in my opinion, for the fighters and for themselves. It'd be great if we could have MMA in Ireland kind of talked about in the same breath as boxing and other sports and things like that in coverage. And I don't think the UFC are charging exorbitant prices to Irish broadcasters, from what I've heard, numbers I've heard in the past that offers were made to RTE and things like that. So I don't think it's a big outlay, it's a big risk. And, I think with a kind of new generation, the new influx of MMA fighters into the big promotions and especially into the UFC, I think, it makes sense. And if anybody's listening from Virgin Media, you need some content hyping up this stuff. There's some pretty obvious guys in the country that could do a good job for
Thanks,
a pretty reasonable fee.
Well, like I think, look, I've stopped beating this drum a while back, because it's look, if Ian becomes like a champion or becomes a star,
well,
like
why? Like what these guys deserve proper coverage.
Yeah, but they're not going to get it. Like we know that. We know they're not going to get it. Like everywhere has stopped covering MMA or never bothered covering MMA. It's just the fact of the matter. Like we're here doing it, so tune into us. You know, that's grand. That's my say. Like it was great before. Like when Hugh Cahill was on Irish radio on 2FM, I was on it. How many? 50 times maybe, which was like nightly #1 station in the country stuff over and over and over again. But then he got kind of a promotion and is more a commentator now. And then his replacement had me on like once or twice, and that was it. You know, they have no interest in it anymore. It was because he was there. Like, that's what you kind of need. You need like an editor in the paper who likes MMA, but there isn't any of them. I'm sure that we know lads that have been gone out searching for jobs and papers for the last fucking 15 years, and there's none to be had. Like, there's just none to be had. You'll get the odd thing all the time. Like I'm sure you've got the odd offer, and I've got the odd offer, and other people covering it down through the years. But like, it could be 2 articles every 6 months or 2 articles a year or something like that. It's nothing really. Like, and they have no interest in doing it until Ian Garry becomes a champion or something, and then there'll be a bit, and then if, you know, a year later Ian Garry's no longer champion, it'll all stop, and even if he is, it'll all stop again. And like a lot of this has to do with McGregor. Let's be honest here, and the class divide, I suppose, and